Welcome to the podcast, Thomas, and thank you for agreeing coming as a guest on my podcast.
Yeah,
For the guest, we have today Mr. Thomas Weller, and he is the current CEO of Harrow, and he
yeah,
has been in this company is more than 31 years, and that is how I
absolutely.
am more excited to know
Yeah,
about
okay.
how his journey was, and
Yeah,
let's find out. So,
yeah,
Thomas, over to you. Let us know how this all began, how you started your career with Harrow, and how
yeah.
was your journey as a CEO?
Yeah, my journey, right? It started, as you said, more than 30 years ago. I worked at a big company, right? Like a more global player of more than 400,000 people. And I was happy there, right? We had 4 years. And then I saw that Harrow was looking for a young salesman developing the United States, right? That was his big plan. And I said, okay, now I worked at a shareholder company, right? And now I said, why not joining a family-owned company? Arrow was 150
Mhm.
people, and I said, let's get the
Okay.
second version of organization and companies. And that was my driving factor to leave my existing company, the big company, and go into a really family-owned company where the owner, the two co-owners, and the wife and the founder are there, and that was my motivation, right, to take a new step. But when I started, I said to myself, maybe that's for 5 years, and then I will continue my journey. But as you see, finally I stuck in it, and I'm still here, right? So yeah, yeah,
So now for almost 19 years, you have been the CEO, correct,
yeah,
in the Harrow.
yeah.
How do you see yourself, Thomas, like when you started your journey as a CEO and now after 19 years, what changes you can see in yourself?
Oh yeah, that's a big question. You know, when I started. I was a sales manager, right? Then after my start in US, I was promoted to be a global sales manager. So I was very close to my customers, to the sales organization. But then when you go in a CEO role, you have to leave, to let your baby go, right? This is what you love, right? And I'm a really a team player. I'm very focused on my customers' needs. And then, of course, as a CEO, you have to see everything in the company, right? Organization, much more people things than strategic growth, than investments, and so on. And yeah, it was not easy for me because, and as of today, still my heart beats for my customers. That's why I call myself a CEO slash CSO because we are driven by our market, right? And that's why I combine both. But it was not easy to get the different perspective, right? To be responsible for IT, for example, right? Or for
Yeah.
organization, or for finance, right? I have a CFO, but he comes to me, right? Before that, that was not on my shoulders. But honestly, I love it, right? Because I have much more power to develop the company. And again, when I started 150 people, when I got a CEO, 400 people, now 2,300 people. So that's a huge growth. And I would say that was also part of my passion, right? I want to have Harrow like a global player there. We have locals for locals. We're in India, we're in China, we're in America. And when I started, nothing was there, right? So that was my driving factor. Yeah. But again, always
I was
driven by the
about
people. Yeah.
I was about to ask you now that after coming to CEO role, you must have learned about the finances, you must learn about the IT. This
Yep.
comes with it. Yeah.
Yep, it comes with it, and
So
then we talk about investment. Oh, now we make a new building, right? So about talking about architects, who's responsible for signing the contracts, right? You're signing many things which you were not used to, right? Because at the end, as a CEO, you have to sign the financing through a bank, for example, right? But again,
yeah.
that's you grow into that role. And honestly speaking, in my first 5 years, I had Mr. Höfliger, office to office, right? And he supported me very nicely in that role. I talked to him daily because he was the CEO or the founder. I took it over and he learned me, right? I would say I had the
Mm.
perfect mentor in my life. He was there. And after years, he cut his responsibility back. And I was there. And still when I was completely in the CEO role, he was always there, right? If I had questions. So it was not like a cold start. It was a smooth induction for my CSO role into the CEO role and learning about organization things and finance. And believe me, still today, I'm happy when I get the next executive summary for finance and not all the details. It's by far too much.
So you said he is your mentor. Any other mentors you have in the industry, from the industry?
I would say, yeah, I had two other ones. One was El Shane, right? He was like Harro's age. He passed also away 5 years ago. He was running my US business, and he worked with me in the former company. And he was a super experienced sales guy, right? He was really a great team player. He knew the market, and he learned me, right, over 20 years to how to behave, right, in critical situation, and also what is important and not so important. And he learned me to listen, right? He said, Tom, when we go to a meeting, we listen. We want to hear their needs. And then afterwards, we talked a lot, right? What was your impression? And he challenged me. So Harro was more bringing me the CEO role. Shane was more
Hmm.
bringing me into the role of a global sales person. And the third one, that was a customer like L Man. And I hope our connection is ongoing because you are frozen right now, but I continue anyway. So the guy was called L Man.
Yeah.
He had the company Mankind, right? And he had the dream to bring inhalable insulin to the market, right? And he was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I met him when he was already in 60, and I
Hmm.
knew him for more than 10 years, but he was a guy, he had always ideas, right? Even heading up to 70, he had the dream, right? And he continued with a lot
Yeah.
of passion. He traveled to Germany, we traveled to him. So these three guys, Harro himself, El Shane, and El Man on the other
Mm.
side, were really very important people in my career. Yeah.
Tell me, let's talk about some of the moments. Okay. So can you recall a moment when you had to make a difficult decision for the company? One that you know would have a profound impact on both the
Yeah.
team and the business?
I have a couple of them, but I maybe give you one or
Yeah.
two. You know, to make an organization to change and to make decision to organization, that's an easy call. It's always getting more
Mm.
critical when it comes to people. Okay, and when I
Yeah.
was in the role at this time, Harrow's nephew, he was responsible for this sales in China. Okay, and I
Okay.
was pretty clear in my opinion. He's not the guy for us. He doesn't fit. And I had to explain Harro why we are not continue the business with him. So we have to cancel the contract with his nephew. And that's a
Mhm.
challenge. And Harro, he understood it, right? He saw it the same as I have seen, but he said, Tom, that's your responsibility to explain my wife, the whole family, why he is not the right person to develop, in this case, China for us, right? So that was a very difficult because it was a family thing, and I'm the outside, and I work in a
Yeah.
family company, and
Yeah.
then explain everybody, and you know, I was also sleeping a couple of nights about saying to myself, do I jeopardize my job now? Because me against the family business, not easy, I can tell you.
Yeah.
And the second one was very similar, right? This was when we had now we own it. We had a representative company in UK. It's called Ropak, and this was run by Wolfgang Rauch, right? A very nice gentleman. And we were there to buy the company. That was a long planned deal. That Harrow has an own company in UK, but he has the son, and it was planned that his son takes the company over. Okay, so he would be
Okay.
MD for Harrow in UK. Same situation. He had not for me. He didn't fit to Harrow, right? So I had to explain
Hmm.
Wolfgang and my Harrow that this young gentleman will be not the MD. We have to look for an outside guy. So you know
Yeah.
that's really, and Wolfgang was a good friend to Harrow the family. So that was for me two
Mm.
delicate situations, and they were all people driven, right? I never had an issue about
Yeah.
other decisions. They are fact driven, organization driven, strategic driven. But when it comes to people, especially in the family environment, you need a lot of sensitivity and diplomacy
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
but I had the reasons, right? I didn't do it for I had good purposes, right? Everybody
Correct.
saw it,
Yeah.
but nobody wanted to attack it. So I had that was, I would say, on a first glance, two challenging moments for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. No, that's correct because my partner also always tell me if the intent is very clear to you, then it doesn't matter. Even the
Yeah.
person sitting in front of you, he will agree.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Thomas, tell me more about Harrow. So, how this company came in existence and how now it is grown and how it is differentiated.
Harrow, we always try to be, when I started, Harrow was in different markets, right? Pharma was only 20%, but I came with the pharma background. And for me, the health of the people is a motivation for me, right? And when my grandma and grandpa passed away many years ago, I had the opinion that with better medications and better devices, we could help them to survive at least 5 to 10 more years. So that was a driving
Yeah.
factor for me. And this passion I brought to the company, and I always said, we need to be a pharma medical driven organization on a global reach. So that was my motivation. And I think that was also the driving factor, right? And we always said, let's be a technology leader and to be a partner to this industry and not building commodity machine like hardening machines, tablet machines,
Mm.
or capsule filling machines, or blister machines. Be more on the niches, but be
Correct.
excellent there, okay? And it was very clear that we first would look at the big pharma companies, but later on the generic will come, right? They want to
Yeah.
copy nice stuff. And I said, then we are ready, we have the references, and then we're getting into the generic market. That was
Yes.
my strategy behind that. And it worked out very well because company grew good. Now we are, I call it 98% in this industry, pharma and medical. And there's still, we have a growing population. We have getting elder people, new medications comes. I think there's a lot of business opportunities for the future. But for me, it's all driven about the health of the people. I want to make
Mm.
a longer life, a healthier life, and a better life. And this makes me
Yeah.
in the morning getting out of bed and say, let's continue the journey,
Let's
right?
go.
So that's yeah.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Thomas, I can understand in the vision of the company that changed along the way. So when you joined, it was something else,
Yeah,
and
it
now
joined
it
a lot.
is
Right? It
shaped.
changed a lot because when I started, right, the Arrow was
Yeah.
80% food and beverage industry. Okay, so it
Oh,
was
okay.
really not the pharma world. And I brought my pharma experience in, and I had very early. I hired then some pharma guys, sales guys, and they
Mm-hmm.
brought the
Mm-hmm.
pharma customers to Harrow. But that was a journey which went on
Okay.
for 6, 8, maybe 10 years to get the references, to get the first business in US, building up a service organization. But my focus was always driven. This is the market, right? And you cannot, in my
Mm.
opinion, you cannot be supplier to the automotive, food industry, and pharma. That doesn't work out because the requirements
Yeah.
are so
Yeah.
different and the expectations are so different. So my motivation was to bring Harro in that world. And when I asked
Mm-hmm.
for the job, right in the interview, I said that to Mr. Höfliger and Mrs. Höfliger right away. My intention is to make it to be the pharmaceutical partner in the industry. And Harro liked the idea, right? He said, "Pharma is good. It's demanding. We are
Mm.
technology driven. They have new medications coming along." And he said
Yeah.
once to me, "A chicken in a basket stays a chicken in a basket." Right? But inhalers are always different, right? You look at inhaler,
Yeah.
is it micronized powder? Is it liquid? So, or when you look at this GLP-1 medications right now,
Yeah.
injectable, now
Yeah.
orals are coming. So there's so much movement there. That's why I think this is,
Mm-hmm.
I was convinced this is the right target for us, the right target market. And now at the end, we are there, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So for Haro Thomas, which is the top selling product, or which is the for the most known product for Haro?
This is hard to say, right? Because we have 14 market segments. Okay, I think we are super well known in the inhaler industry. I think everybody who goes in this inhalation industry knows us. We are also well known
Okay.
for auto-injector and pens, right? For assembly there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the automation, when you talk about injectables, Harrow is very strong there. And then also web converting, like transdermals, ostomy, wound
Yeah.
care, just to name a couple of them. And then, of course, we have a big pharma division
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about aseptic application, cell and gene therapy.
Okay.
So, we have a huge portfolio, right? And then those futures, right? Everybody who talks about futures, he will talk to
Yeah.
Harrow. We have the expertise since 30
Oh.
years. We know the processes, we know the materials. So yeah, I think that's just a couple of them. But again, the 14 market segments, each market segment a certain niche. Some are smaller, some are bigger, some will grow into be bigger. So that's why we look always in new developments and say, there's a new development, look on it, work on it, and in 5 years or 10 years, it might be a big market, right? So,
Yeah, perfect. So, talking about your leadership, Thomas, how would you describe your leadership style? Is there a specific philosophy or set of principles that guides you? And how do you maintain consistency in your approach?
leadership is from. I'm a team player. Okay, for me, very important. I I lead my team or my people being doing what I expect from them to do. Right, I would not expect anything from them which I'm not willing to do and support. So for me, it's like I
Okay.
have an open door here. Right, my office is always open. I always say never shoot the messenger. Right, come with problems to me, but also come with solutions to me or ideas, and then we can discuss it. So I have a very flat hierarchy, right? I trust my people and they
Mm.
trust me, right? It begins with trust and loyalty. That's for me the most important things. And then, of course, in a team, you can achieve more than if you say, I do everything by myself. So it's easy values,
Yeah,
but they're hard to
yeah, of
live, right?
course.
And I want to keep them, right? And the bigger you go, right, the more international you are. Like today, I talk to US people, then in the
Yeah,
evening, in the morning, I talk to people in India. In the evening, I talk to US
yeah.
people. During the day, I talk to French
Yes.
or Spanish people. And of course, I have a different mindset. But again, loyalty and trust and honesty is for everybody in the world so important. And that's what drives me. And I always say my opinion. Once in a while, people say, okay, wow. But, if you're honest, it's much better than
Yeah.
if you tell only half of it, right? And because, when you make stories, you cannot live up to them. And that's why I said, I want to
Mm.
live up to my statements. I want to be strong behind that. And that drives me. And that's also my leadership. It's an easy one, right? But you have to be open to communicate a lot. I communicate,
Yes, yes.
people know what's going on, what is my mind. That's why I have a good team around me. I have 4 people working very close to
Mm-hmm.
me. Some
Mm-hmm.
more organization point, like Evelyn, Paul, more as my assistant. Then I have people for the communication. So that's important, right? That you keep
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
informed what's going on and why it's going on, right? Give them the background.
Mm-hmm.
Why this decision? Why are we heading that way? Then they understand and they support you better.
Mm.
That's a little bit I would say my leadership. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. You said you have to be honest, even if it is bitter for the person in front of you. It still
Yeah.
helps in the long run. It still helps.
It's long
Yeah,
term, it's the better approach, right? Because
yeah.
not every day the sun is shining 24/7, right? So, but
Mm.
again, if problems are here, name it, okay? Be honest and bring it on the table, and then you deal with it in the most professional way, not with emotions. Do it rational, right? Think about it, look for a solution, and live up to the solution. I think that's for everybody better. Yeah.
True, true, true. So Thomas Harrow is also known for pushing the boundaries of innovation. So
Yeah.
what's been the most exciting or challenging project you have worked in terms of driving innovation in Harrow?
Yeah, if you ask me about the one, there are many
Mhm.
projects, but one was, and I mentioned that it was L-Man. This is uh,
Yeah.
15, 18 years ago when Pfizer was pushing to get inhalable insulin to the market. The project was called
Hmm.
Exubera.
Okay.
And, there were technology needed which were not existing. Very
Hmm.
precise dosing of micronized powder in 1
Yeah.
milligram. Then check
Okay.
weighing
Yeah.
it on a cross hair weighing in the micrograms, right, in the production environment. And then, of course, you had the device development company. Then you had Pfizer there. You had partners like Ullman was a machine builder like us. So it was really a constellation of many companies aiming for one thing. And that was technology challenging, but also to get the spirit of everybody right, moving the right direction. There was a lot of communication needed, a lot of small talk between the single ones, but the technology to get a system running at high speed, almost more than 1,000
Mm.
dosages per minute in the milligram range as an RSD of less than, I think it was 2%. And it's almost nothing, right?
Wow.
And, uh,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then in process control, we developed, I think this was at least for 5 years, the most precise weighing system on the world market. We could measure electrodes moving from a cross to tail vein. And then we put the whole package in a Faraday cage to eliminate the electrodes. So precise was this measurement.
So
No, that was
how
challenging,
many
right? It was a
years?
great program.
Yeah.
And I think I learned a lot, right? Working with very professional organizations, the device development company, then Pfizer as the global company there, at this time the biggest pharma company, pushing for a new drug delivery system and all the people around it and the formulation. And then. But, it was a program for 5 years. And it was really a challenging program, but it helped me a lot to develop to the person I'm today. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
It took 5 years to get it running. It took 5 years.
Get it to the market, right?
Wow.
And then
Get it to market.
Also there were challenges from other companies who were on the insulin market, but not inhalable. They want to keep injection or tablets. So there was another hurdle. Now it's on the market, but by far not as big as it was planned from Pfizer. Then Mankind took it over on another company, and it's there now since 10 years, but not to the big volume. So from this point, it was a sad story at the end. But when you're in the new drug deliveries, things can happen. But the program was not for me only, but also like for all the companies involved, like Ullman or Harro. It made a different company out of Harro about project management, international things, working with device development companies, right? Getting the formulation right. And then under a lot of pressure because it's a new drug delivery system, not existing. What are the profiles there? Then formulation needs to be changed. And then. So it was a huge program, but super exciting. And I would say everybody who participated learned a lot in this program.
So what is next for Harro, Thomas? Is it more expanding in geographical region or is it more bringing new stuff in the market?
I would say it's always both, okay? We are planning big things in India, right? We have a team there. We want to produce machines from them. We're already doing that, but we want to build much more machines there out of India for the emerging markets. We are setting up a whole team and a big facility. So India will be then really a hub from Harro for the emerging markets because the needs are different, right? And the services are different.
Yeah.
So this is really, and then also we do the same thing in US right now for US because, the tariffs and you never know what comes next in US. So, and then we have Hungary for Europe. So that's really the international things, but we are developing a lot of new technology. At the other side, like cell and gene therapy is a big thing. And it's about personalized medication. We have in 3 weeks a seminar here where not we are talking, all pharmacists and industrial leaders speak about what is the next step there. And it's about cancer treatment and tumor treatment, and this on a personalized level. So this is really something which is a big trend, and we are in the middle of it, right? So, and but there are many more developments coming along. So it's a huge portfolio, right, where you develop new technologies for the market, new drug delivery systems, but also we want to expand our global reach. We want to have locals for locals. If someone in Bangladesh has the guys from India fly, they're not from Germany. It's also about sustainability, short distances, same time zone, hopefully same language. So, or if we have a machine in Thailand, it's much easier than my Indian colleagues fly there than someone from Germany. So that's big programs. They're all rolling, right? They are not new. Some are 80% done, some are 30% done. So, but that will keep us busy, I would say, in the next 5 years, guaranteed. Yeah.
Good to know, Thomas. Do you read books, Thomas? Do you read books?
Right now, very few. It's more like articles, right? Books I read when I'm on vacation. Okay. But they're really easygoing, right? I want to relaxing. It's not about scientific stuff. It's more like little crime there and, such easy things where you can flip the pages and what happens. But when I'm in the business world, I have like different newspapers, right, which I'm reading. And 1 second, you come out to me. Separate. Sorry, but so my people around me, they send me articles about this, about right now I read a lot about the economy from US, right? What is Trump planning to do next, right? We need to know and we need to be prepared. And then, of course, you see in the world global conflicts, right? What's going on? All the political conflicts. What do we do in Israel, right? What do we do? Hopefully, in India, the thing is not exploding, right? There's so many things which we need to look. So that's why when I'm really in the business, it's for me to focus on the business and the outside influences on the business. On vacation, I like to go to a beach, relax, read a book, or stay in the shadow, right? But don't think about the business. And I never go in more than 2 weeks on vacation. Normally, I go 10 days. So that's enough for me because after 5 days, my brain starts working what's going on in the business. And then it's better to be back and see what. And I love it. My business, Mr. Höfliger said once the definition of vacation. He said, this is an unwelcome interruption of my daily routines. Okay. And I see the same way, right? I love what I do. And I think that's great. And it's fantastic. And, but again, vacation is important for the family and so on. That's why I rather go 3 times a week a year, right? Instead of 4 weeks. And then that's not and then again, then I read easy books, but really easy music and easy books just to fade away, call it that way. Yeah.
Correct. No, I can understand that because you staying there for a long time, that shows you're really enjoying your work, and also you're growing the company. So it's important. Yeah. So
that's very important.
what is a typical weekend look for you?
A weekend, right now we have my wife's parents are alive and my parents are alive. Okay, so they are all 80 plus. Okay, so I think almost every weekend we spend at least my parents or my wife's parents a couple of hours with them, right? And then of course I have 2 sons and they have girlfriends. They are not living at home anymore. We normally make a barbecue or Sunday evenings we like to go out for dinners. And then I like to work around the house. I have the garden there, right? With a dog. So it's very easy. Then I have friends. So it's, then of course in between I read my emails. I make very often calls with my MDs from around the world on a Saturday afternoon, right? Or Saturday morning, have a cup of tea sitting on the sofa, right? Or sitting on the terrace and talk for half an hour when you have more time to also talk about, not about the business, you talk about how's your life doing, what you see, where's the problem, you talk about not these big things, more about, what people needs to address. And during the day, you hardly have the time because time, meeting, right? And then on the weekend, but it's also a lot of family time for me because family is key. And, I have the luxury that we have all 4. My daddy is going up to 90 and he's mentally good, but body-wise not that good anymore, right? Which is normal. That's why I want to spend time with him and have a glass of wine in the afternoon and we talk, right? We just sit there and talk. That's also relaxing for me. So,
Yeah, so sweet. Yeah. I have a last question for you, Thomas. So, if you could have a dinner conversation with any historical figure in pharmaceutical or technology industry or anyone for that matter, who would it be and what would you ask them?
With Mr. Höfliger, with Harro himself, what was always fantastic go out, right? But I was too close to him. What I mentioned this man, right? He created, I think, 20 companies in his career and in different areas. So when I was with him maybe 2-3 times, but always in a group. If I would have him one evening for myself, I would ask him similar discussions we have right now. What was his motivation? What was his driving factors? So, and he was a fantastic entrepreneur, but also he had a family, right? So he said during the week, he said to me, he travels, but the weekend is the family. Besides, you can do some business, but priority has family. And if there's something up in the family, he said, I always would say, I cannot have the meeting or the call for the company. I want to family. So family first, right? Elman would be certainly one of the guys because he was a senior guy, very passionate. But I think there are 100 people, right? You have a guy like a colleague who lives in Singapore, Steve Newman, right? He's also like one of the guys I know since 25 years. He's a fantastic
Okay.
businessman, right? Yeah, with him spending time together, we met here in Singapore. It's fantastic, but there are many more, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Thomas. If there is anything you would like to share, if I have missed any point, please feel free to speak about it.
Yeah, I think for me, we covered most of the points, right? Which is very important. For me,
Okay.
again, loyalty, right? This is very important, and
Yeah.
keep it rolling, right? So be open minded, and also what I think maybe an add on
Yeah.
is to be open minded to make decisions, okay? And have the power then and the motivation. If a decision is wrong, you find it out. Say, hey guys, I made a decision, or let's correct it, right? No problem. Not
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
we stick to the wrong decision and run down a road which makes no sense. So no,
Yeah.
that's
True.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. It was wonderful having conversation with you, Thomas. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your time,
I
and I
suppose
hope
I
to
was
see you
good,
soon.
right? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
It was
Thank you
very
so much.
nice.
All the
Thank
best.
you.
Take care.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.